他们的恐惧是我们的武器，我们的胜利。谢谢了，兄弟姐妹们，你们健身了吗？行动，行动，行动！中共，你完了 ！Take down the CCP！
beginning for the games you want to play. Bring it on and I will fight to the end. Just watch and see. It's all started, everything's begun, and you are over. Cause we're taking down the CCP. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP. They have all lied for too long. We will end what they do wrong. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. Let's take down the CCP. Let the bullets fly a little longer, and you will surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. We will have freedom to live. We will win. You'll surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. Let the bullets fly a little longer.
中共，
Let the bullets fly a little
你
longer.
完了！
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
中共，你完了！干灭中国共产党这个 CCP， 才能让我们远离恐惧。Take down the CCP。
They try to scare the nation with fabrication, but we see through the lies. We won't fall, we will fight you back. Police corruption with crooked assumption. They ran our lives, but no more. We will win. We will take down the CCP. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP. They have all lied for too long. We will end what they do wrong. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. Let's take down the CCP. Let the bullets fly a little longer, and you will surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. We will have freedom to live. We will win. You'll surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. Let the bullets fly a little longer.
站起来吧！
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
站起来吧！
Let the bullets fly a little
为
longer.
奴役的人
Let
们
the bullets fly a little longer.
行动！
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
行动！
Let the bullets fly a little
你
longer.
完了
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
！Take down the CCP。
The bullets fly a little longer, and you will surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. We will have freedom to live. We will win. You'll surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down the evil CCP。
Architectural Art Projects. The Architectural Art Project, a folder code for the global illegitimate children of the CCP kleptocrats, a map of the genes, wealth, and the politics of the CCP kleptocrat families. In the 1980s, the CCP adopted a one-child policy domestically, but in order to be able to enslave the Chinese people for generations to come, the CCP kleptocrats have produced large numbers of red offspring through surrogacy, test tube babies, and mixed blood. Due to the large number and variety of these red genes, they are registered and managed by dedicated people Relying on the wealth created by the Chinese people, these right offspring grew up with an elite education and became important figures in politics and business in various countries, expanding their political power through marriage and paving the way to run for government office. The right genes of the kleptocrats are all over the world and have become an important carrier of the kleptocrats to hide their assets overseas.
Hello, good afternoon. This is the Legal Battle of the Century, and I'm Rachel and your host. And today is 2022, September 24th, Saturday. So wishing everybody is enjoy the weekend. So today we are still going to talk about the kleptocrats and their system. And today we're going to continue drilling down on the topic. A few days ago, which I believe it's on Wednesday, that we talk about the architectural art project. When I decided to move on to the death of Wang Jian, but I realized there's so much in the architecture art project that I have not shared with you. So I decided in this show that I'm going to still focusing on the architecture of art project, which we can turn on to slides number 2. And we were on the topic on the Wang Qishan and HNA. As Wang Qishan is one of the top CCP kleptocrats, and he has been stealing and hiding monies and wealth he gained from China to overseas, and he has been helping the HNA rise. So we probably devoted previous 3 episodes, or 4 possibly. I can't remember exactly. I only remember that we spent already 2 weeks on this topic. So we already examined Wang and HNA's rise. And last 2 episodes, we touched a little bit on the ownership of HNA. And today we're going to still focusing on the architecture art project, as I mentioned. And then next week, I will leave the white gloves of fate, the death of Wang Jian, to next week, Tuesday. There's a lot of stuff there too, because Miles in 2018, a year after Wang Jian's death, not exactly a year, a little bit more than 365 days, he held a press conference in November 20th, 2018, to basically expose what happened before and during and after Wang Jian's death. And his team, he basically sent his investigative team to France. And these investigators talked to many witnesses. So in the following week, possibly we're going to spend 2 episodes time to talk about that. So if you're interested to know more about that, please stay tuned with us. And next week, Nicole might be back, as I've been advised that Nicole is still not be able to join me, so that's why today I'm just only one in the host seats. So anyway, thank you, KK. KK is today's OBS support still. So let's roll. I just want to refresh everybody's minds a little bit about what is architectural art project. Because this is really, you can't guess it by just, if you don't know what it is, you can't really just by speculating just by reading the title of the architecture art project, because it's hidden. The other names we're usually referring to is the CCP's rule by genitals. This is all to do with the sex and, illegitimate children. So first of all, it's a folder code. It's basically a treasure map that contains of those illegitimate children of those CCP's kleptocrats, and basically who they are, whose son, who's biologically, whose mom, and whose dad, and how much money they are, and are they in family trust, who holds what, those kind of thing. And also, as I mentioned about politics is always part of it. That's why a lot of the CCP kleptocrats, they try to conceal those information to themselves. That is why they always have white gloves. Basically, these white gloves are very loyal to one person, but the CCP spies, they might work for multiple kleptocrats because they're registered under the nation's resources, right? Under the foreign minister or whatever. But those kleptocrats' white gloves, truly, they demand absolute loyalty from those white gloves, because some of them are chosen to be the handler, to take care of, to keep this treasure map and to take care of their illegitimate sons and children overseas. So you can see there's a different level of trust involved here. So basically, depending on where you are at the White Gloves, you could be the chosen one to take care of their illegitimate son. That means you will know quite a bit information about what the families is doing, and that is why Wang Jian has to die, because he obviously knows too much about Wang's family's doings and those wealth and where it's hidden, how did the money go, and all those kind of things. But anyway, today we just continue refreshing people's mind. We talk about these large number of red offsprings are not necessarily a kind of brought to the world by loving mom and dad are growing up on a normal family. No, a lot of them are actually just test tube babies. They're using surrogacy and they're created in the lab. So they're not born by having sex or making love from a woman or man. So that's something I just have to remember, everybody. Sometimes they're viewed as objects. If you're good, if you grow up and to be the person that the CCP kleptocrats want you to be, then you will be tasked with more heavy stuff. But if you turn out to be a lemon, then you're just test baby, right? So that's scary part of the CCP, because the regime is truly evil. They view everyone and everything is just an object. It's like, as Mao once described it, it's a cog in a system. Okay, you have a purpose, and that purpose is up to me to determine. So, and the children usually grew up with elite education, and today we're going to talk about elite education and show a few of them and what they have accomplished today, and become an important figure in politics and business in various countries. Okay, today we're going to talk a number of countries, and they are all over the world. So that's the thing I want everybody to remember, because last couple episodes, 2 episodes, we talk about it, how Wang Qishan, the most powerful CCP kleptocrat, has managed to steal wealth. Like, we spent lengthy, because when explaining that topic, we kind of share with you the economic reform that happened at the background. So writing on the history, on those moments of history, that Wang be able to move the state-owned enterprises from the first stage to the second stage. If you recall, the first stage is the performance improvement stage, which involved a mass layoff of 30 million Chinese workers. And then the second stage is corporatization. They writing on that, and then the third stage come after the corporatization is privatization. Ironically, those established governance body, the state-owned company has made a detour and come back, become privately owned. And this time, the difference is they're not truly private owned. They are owned by kleptocrats. That is why, come full circle, the money from the country, the nation, now all into the pockets of those different kleptocrats. And we touched a little bit on 2 episodes ago about how those kleptocrats and fractions fighting with each other, and how they manage to, keep their turf, and how they actually, reach and negotiate and reach agreement in terms of who should be the next leader in the CCP party. So I'm not going to repeat that. But as you all know, all of them have illegitimate sons. Born out of wedlock, and they so choose. They did that on purpose because they wanted to perpetuate their own dynasty and to control. So some of them obviously more successful than others, and that's why we chose Wang Qishan as the most successful kleptocrat here to share the knowledge, to share the information that Miles has shared with us in the past. So now they already got the money. They need to hide it. Okay, so they stole from the Chinese people 1.4 billion, and at start 2000, those kleptocrats privatized companies, enterprises are going truly global. Okay, so they no longer satisfied just dealing with those 1.4 slaves. Now they are actually looking at the world and say, Where else I can conquer? And in today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about that. So the next slides, please, KK. So we go back to the slides number 4. And you've showed the slides last week. And in the slides, in this slide, we have a lot of individuals. And I'm not, expecting you remember all of them because it took me a while to remember all of them and their relationships. So it's difficult because this is very complex. But you will know the death of Wang Jian, we're going to talk about next episode. And Chen Feng, the other chairman, is detained. Both of them are owning 15%. Basically, it's 14.95% of the HNA. And down the bottom, there are 3 oval-shaped objects, and the people in those objects are the ultimate real owner, basically the beneficiary owner of HNA, and they are all illegitimate sons of those CCP kleptocrats, and we're gonna get down to the answer today. And then in the other oval object, we already mentioned it. So, and there is a square box there too. So we're going to talk about this guy today, and you will know who he is and how he related to Yao family, which is the guy in black in circle. Okay, so these are a little bit, we touched it last show. So next slides, please. So family of Yao. Okay, this is also a refresher because there's so many people. I don't want you to get lost and confused. So let's take a look at this Yao again. So who is Yao? So Yao Yiling, which is in the red circle, and he was the vice premier of the State Council of the PRC. And he was in charge of finance and commerce. So basically, he is a mentor for Wang, right? He was a mentor for Wang Qishan, who basically later on walked exactly the same shoes as his father-in-law. As I mentioned in last episode, Wang Qishan married his middle daughter, which also in this picture, right below Yao Yiling. Okay, so, and we also mentioned in CCP, communist regime, it's not about meritocracy. It's all about who you know, who you came from, what class you are. So in order to gaining more political, how do I say that, prowess, and Wang has to marry someone special, and he did find someone special, which is daughter of Yao Yiling. I think they married in early 1970s. They met each other in 1969, but I'm not sure when did they actually marry. I shouldn't say that, but I would guess it has to be 1970 because early 1970. So this is why later on Wang's political career took off, is because he has chosen the right father-in-law. So on the pictures, they're official wife of Yao Yiling and also Yao Yiling's official 4 daughters and sons. So he only had one son, which died in his mid-50s. His son is dying at 2001, and then this is why Wang became the kind of a heir of Yao. Because there's no male figure in that family other than Yao Mingshan, other than the middle daughter's husband. He seems like, capable, and he seems like a brilliant. So that's why Yao chose Wang to pass on his legacy. So, and let's move on to the next picture. And this we also talked about in last show. So Yao Yiling is the grandfather of Philip Rosler. Okay, so Philip Rosler was the former vice chancellor of Germany. Okay, he served in 2011 to 2013, and he is one of those talked about the Red Jeans and Architecture Art Project, because in his bios on Wikipedia, you can go search it yourself. They describe him as a orphan, a German couple, which later on I'm going to show you. A German couple picked him up in a Vietnam orphanage. Okay, so, and he was born in 1973. He went through very nice education, ultimately become a medical doctor. And then he worked, in German as the Ministry of Health, and then moved into finance, and then, all the way to former vice chancellor of Germany. Okay, so that's his career trajectory. But he is actually the illegitimate grandson of Yao Yiling. As I mentioned, Yao Yiling has one son, and that's, officially only have one son, but he has many other illegitimate sons. And we don't know because Miles only shared with us just maybe, I think, a tip of the iceberg. Okay, in terms of how many illegitimate sons and daughters there are for CCP kleptocrats. But here we only know Yao Mingwei is the only son on the book, on the records. And on Wikipedia, there is a description of Yao Mingwei. So Yao Mingwei studied in Beijing number 35 middle school. And Yao Mingwei went to Vietnam, Vietnam, to study after he graduated the third year of the high school. So he spent quite a bit of time in Vietnam to learn Vietnamese, so he can speak very good Vietnamese. And this is why Philip Roessler was born in Vietnam. Okay, so there's no other information. Miles didn't share who is Philip Roessler's mom. I would have guessed it might be a Vietnamese girl, or I don't know, that the Yao Mingwei met during his stay or his visit in Vietnam. But one thing Miles did mention is this Philip Roessler guy would have at least 5+ more siblings from the same dad. Okay, they're all illegitimate sons. That's scary. I don't know who they are, where they are, whether they turn out to be a politician somewhere in the world, or in Vietnam or somewhere else, or they are a lemon. Just you could turn out to be a lemon as well, right? So we don't know, but that gives you a sense of how many and how. I mean, you need to have a spreadsheet or a database to keep all those things, to tracking all those things, right? You can imagine all those. They're proliferating those red genes all over the place, and it's hard to remember. Basically, the father did not, or the mother did not spend time with those people. You can't even forget them. So you have a spreadsheet and something to keep reminding you. Oh yeah, I have that, and I have him, I have her, and he has this money, and he is the owner of this. And how does he grow? Like, did he made it to the I don't know, elite school or something? They chose him. So these are, anyway, give you a taste of what architecture art projects. And this is why in 2017, this Roessler guy was appointed as the CEO of Hainan Cihang Charity Foundation. Remember the ownership? I'm not going to repeat it because we already mentioned about the Cihang Foundation in New York that established in 2016 that, holding those HNA shares. But this is all in the family, right? It's all in the Yao and Wang's family. So let's take a look at the next slides, okay? Because we are going to talk about Yao Yiling's sister, okay? So you will know all the people that are on the previous charts, how they link together. So this is slide number 7. So in the slides, we continue with family Yao. So Yao Yiling, who was the vice premier that we just showed you in the previous slides, he has a sister. Okay, he had a sister because both of them died. Both of them passed away. And the sister was born 1911 to 1992, which sit right beside Yao Yiling. And this is the Wikipedia basically information that I find. So in 1930, Yao Jingxing, that's her elder sister's name, was admitted to Peking Tsinghua University, majoring in foreign languages. Okay, it's a plural, so maybe she can speak, English, Germany or whatever, quite a bit, language. But they did messed up with the gender. I don't know why, because it's Chinese Wikipedia, so I have to translate it using Google Translation, translate it into English. But I don't know why they kind of confused with the gender, so they use he, but actually it should be she. So she studied in Germany and studied piano and composition theory at the Berlin State Conservatory. Okay, and in 1939, she returned to China after completing his studies. So this is a little bit about Yao's sister, Yao Jingxing. So that means, and rumor has it, okay, so Yao Jingxing was learning piano in German, and she met a German piano teacher. and they had one illegitimate son because at that time Yao Jingxing has not been married. So she basically is a early 20, 21 years old young female single and study abroad by herself, basically. And she stayed in Germany for at least, if you're counting the years, 1932 to 1939, so 7-8 years. And that was, her prime childbearing year, because if you're calculating her age, she was like basically 21, all the way to 28, right? So, and she had one illegitimate son. Let's take a look who that legitimate son is and what's the relationship with the rest of the Yao family. So let's turn to the slides 8. So slides 8 here is, again, let's take a look at this Rossler guy. So on Wikipedia, you can find, and Rossler was adopted from a Roman Catholic orphanage near Saigon by a German couple who already had 2 biological children. And so basically, that's very nice of them, and adopt often. And so basically this German couple, the guy, so a man and woman, they're a German couple. So the guy is the Rossler's biological grandfather's sister, Yao Jingxing's illegitimate son. Okay, so basically in a relationship, let's simplify it. It's uncle adopted nephew. Does that make sense? Do you follow? I hope everybody is following me. So so basically Yao Yiling's sister had a illegitimate son before her marriage with the German piano teacher, and that he later on married, and then he had his own 2 kids, and then he went to Saigon, Vietnam, adopted this Rossler guy. Okay, so that's the relationship, and the Rossler is the illegitimate grandson of Yao Yiling. The illegitimate grandson of Yao Yiling's only son on the book, on the records. Okay, so I hope everybody follows. This is confusing, I know. There is a lot of people. So here, it's a hypothetical question because Miles never confirmed it, but Miles implied these are people related, okay? But he didn't say what the relationship is. So this is purely my speculation. I could be completely off and wrong. So that's a green line, an arrow here. So remember the guy, Horst Geike? It's a German name, so I don't know how I pronounce it. It sounds weird, but anyway. So this guy is born in 1955. And by the way, he is the chairman and founder. Okay, right there. Yeah, I was put it in the red box. I didn't see it. So he is the co-founder, partner, and former executive chairman of the investment firm PAG. Hello, right? We've talked about this whole case. Those PAX versus Miles, this legal case, right? So this whole show is about the case. We started with the case, and PAG and PAX, are same companies, we say. And this guy, along with the other 3 guys, Chris Greto and Ian Chen, are the co-founders of the investment firm PAG. And in last show, we also talk about what's the PAG's role in all the schemes that Wang is pulling off. Basically, it's one of the money launder entities, enterprises for HNA. Remember the triangle that we drew for you in the last show? So whenever you see HNA, you see PAG and Blackstone. Okay, 60 and 70% of transactions are among these 3 organizations. Okay, so one is in mainland China, one is in Hong Kong, and the other one is in the United States. Blackstone, Steve Schwarzman. Okay, so these are all again related together. And this guy, very interesting. He's a German-born entrepreneur investor, but somehow, he really, really lived in Hong Kong since 1980. Okay, so that means when he was like only a 20-some years old young man, he basically lived in Hong Kong and where? Vietnam. Okay, Hong Kong and Vietnam is his home, basically. Okay, so you can see the relationship between these 2 and in the Yao's family. So my guessing, he might be just because of the age, right? So I was thinking about the illegitimate son of Yao Jingxing could possibly be because he could possibly be born somewhere from 1932 all the way to 1939. Remember, that's the period where Yao's sisters study piano in German. So let's say Yao Jingxing went there, feel lonely. The next year, he met a very handsome German. I mean, this is my talking. This is not real, but this is just me creating stories in my own mind easy for me to remember this. So Yao Jingxing met someone and she fell in love, and then they had a sexual relationship. Oops, there is consequences for that. So they had an illegitimate son born maybe 1933, 1934, I don't know. But that would give that person's age right for having a kid that born in 1955. Okay, so basically that guy could be in 20, 22, 21, 23, and having a son called Horst Greco Greki, born 1955. Okay, so that's the relationship. And this German guy, this German entrepreneur and investor, very, very powerful because he's very successful as well as the Rossler, because Rossler is a political star at that time. Miles, in later on live stream, he did mention that Germany, like a German, at that time was in danger because they almost falling completely into the hands of the CCP's regimes. So, but they didn't. So they turned away. So we'll see. We'll see what happen in the future. But anyway, they are all influential either in political or in business. Okay, so this guy, the bottom guy, is also the chairman of German and European Chamber of Commerce. And in Vietnam, he is the investors chairman and CEO of Dutch House Ho Chi Minh City. Okay, that's the capital city of Vietnam, and known as founder and executive chairman of the Vietnam Capital Group. Here you go. Okay, so they're by definition, they're pretty successful. Okay, if they are somehow all in the kleptocrats, family business. Anyway, let's move down to the next slide. So we're going to move to the family of Wang. Remember, the family of Yao, they passed everything to the Wang because Wang is the son-in-law in the family and the only one that Yao feels that can, take over from him and continue to hide assets, continue what he was doing at the time. So Wang basically inherited the crown, and he has become the centerpiece of the center pillar of this Yao Wang family, the kleptocrats family. Okay, so on the left, give you a little bit taste of what his political career, the trajectory of the climbing up looks like. So vice premier of the state council, that's the same position that his father-in-law once held. Okay. And then he became the secretary of the CCDI. 2012 is a very impactful year, let's say that, because that year Xi Jinping, now the party secretary of the CCP, has been chosen. Remember, there's one episode that would talk about how he was chosen. And then so started 5 years anti-corruption campaign with Wang. Okay, so because she is considered as a rookie, so he needs someone to guide him through and to tell him to tell him what to do in the very first 5 years. So that's why he appointed Wang as a secretary of CCDI, stands for Central Committee of Discipline and Inspection. So they are so Wang is a leader of anti-corruption, and I also mentioned there's 1.4 million CCP members had been, we call them, there's a word called, if directly translation, it's called double crossing. 双规, that means, they've been punished by using the CCP's law, the party's law, and they've been, accused of committed crime like corruption, bribery, or whatever. And those people some of them are dead, some of them are detained, some of them are sentenced in jail for life. But 1.4 million CCP member purged by Wang Qishan and Xi Jinping during the 5 years, which is 2012 to 2017. And then 2018, Wang became the vice president of the PRC. Okay, so that's Wang's family picture. And the one in circle, that's Wang. Okay, let's take a look at Wang's family. So this is we're going to touch about the real owner of the HNA. Okay, here we go. This is a bombshell kind of a slide because it has a lot of information. And so Yao Wang's family's red genes and HNA's ultimate beneficiaries. So these three people, the picture of you see here are posted by Miles. So they're not very clear and good quality. I don't know whether it's for purpose or what, but anyway, Guan Jun. So Guan Jun's biological father is Wang Qishan. Okay, Wang Qishan claimed that he and his wife does not have any. They can, officially, publicly, people know Wang Qishan's wife, which is a middle daughter of Yao Yiling. Her name is Yao Mingshan. Yao Mingshan is infertility. They have infertility problems. The woman, the daughter has infertility problems, and they couldn't have child. So that's collected publicly. But Wang Qishan has many, many, many illegitimate sons, and one of them, Miles has blurted out, is Guan Jun. And the biological mother, guess who? Is his wife's sister. Okay, it's still within the family, right? If my wife cannot bear kids, but I can have other sisters, bearing my kids and still keep the wealth in the family. So Yao's oldest daughter, Yao Mingrui, is the biological mother for this guy, Guan Jun. And then the second guy, Liu Chenjie, the biological father is unknown. Miles did not review it. And Miles said when the CCP is being taken down, and that is the time he will review his biological father, because he said his biological father is truly shocking and is the most powerful person on planet Earth. So anyway, so a lot of us have been guessing, but I'm not gonna guess it who would that be, but let's just put it unknown. Okay, so let's just say his biological father is unknown, but for sure his biological father is not Wang Qishan. However, interestingly, his biological mother is the same mom as Guan Jun, also Yang's oldest daughter. Okay, let's move on to the third. This is where it's truly shocking, and because this is incest involved. I don't know whether they used a test tube approach, or whether they really had sex. Based on who Yao Yiling was when we mentioned, he loves two things when he was alive: woman and drinking nonstop. So this could happen, and this is probably why I explained that Sun Yao is disabled. We don't know where he's disabled, but there's records showing that she has a disability. Okay, so his biological father is, Yao Yiling. So that, if you put that in generations, so Sun Yao is actually, aunt of Liu Chenjie and Guan Jun, right? Because that she's the daughter of the grandson, grandfather of the other two guys. If I'm right, yeah, that's right. So his biological father is Yao Yiling, the very old guy that died in 1994. But this is interesting. Although this is not confirmed, but it was implied by Miles that biological mother is still the same woman. This Yao Mingduan, the older daughter of Yao Yiling, fathered, 4 kids and mothered 4 kids, but with 4 different men. Basically, there are 4 different fathers for her daughters and sons. So that's why I put a picture there, but it's not confirmed. It's just we are speculating that's the case, because that's why Miles mentioned about incest, right? So it's basically father and daughter have a sexual relationship and born a disabled daughter. But legally, she is adopted by Wang Qishan and Yao Mingshan, because Wang Qishan and Yao Mingshan, just I mentioned, they claimed they're not able to have any kids because infertility issues, right? But legally, she's their adopted daughter. Okay, so this is really messy. Okay, but if you need to repeat what I just said, you can go back later on and listen to what I just said. Hopefully, I said it correctly. I didn't make a mistake because I realize sometimes I'm thinking one thing and saying the other thing. That is why I put a picture and type it here so I don't inadvertently making mistake when I'm saying it. So anyway, by now I wanted just to make a disclaimer because in the beginning I played an intro video that was made by by one of the Alliance Global Farms that we have. I think it was the Spice Mountains Spice farm, and in that that was a little intro, a little bit briefing on the kleptocrats family and how they hide their wealth. I think a majority of the information I can vouch for. That's why I picked this video as an intro. But I realized at the end of it, it has a picture of Trudeau. And but Miles never said anything about Trudeau's identity. Miles Guo never mentioned anything about Trudeau is not the son or of the Pierre Trudeau. He did not say it, so that's something I don't know whether it's a speculation or it's just completely wrong, false information. I have no way to verify it. So I just want to make a disclaimer for that intro video. But the rest of them, the pictures, I think they are okay because I think Miles mentioned it. Yeah, so I just want to put that out there before I forget about it. So now let's take a look what kind of assets that Miles had blowed a whistle on these people, on Yao's family and Wang's family. Okay, what kind of a wealth are they hiding overseas? So the next slide number 11. So on July 5th, 2017, Miles Guo's live stream on YouTube. You can still find the video on YouTube if you wanted to watch it. But unfortunately, these videos are in Chinese. So if you're only speaking in English, then I'm not sure whether you can automatically translate it using YouTube built-in function or not. I don't know. But here there's two screenshots that I took. These are just 2 out of 16, real estate assets Wang's family possessing. I'm not sure whether they are still possessing, but they were possessing them at the time of the live streaming broadcasting. Okay, which means 2017, July 5th. So Miles shared with us they own 16 houses in that address. So Saratoga, California. Okay, so this must be prime real estate. And they own 16 houses, and the house number are actually a consecutive number in a row. It's from 18840 to 18854. So altogether 16 houses. And on the picture, the 2 screenshots I showed you, the 18850 address, basically the unit number is 18859, and the street address is called 10 Acres Road, Saratoga, California. And that at that time, the house value was 1.7 million US dollars, and the owner was Shun Fengshan, Frank Sum. So Frank Sum is the registered husband of Yao Mingduan, so the older daughter. Okay, as I mentioned, the older daughter had 4 different kids with 4 different men, but none of them are this one. This one is her legitimate husband on the book, but turned out to be, as Miles mentioned, Shun Fengshan is just the assets holder. Basically, he's just a cup holding the water for the family. That's probably why he and his legally married wife has no offspring. This is all family business, kind of strange, but that's how CCP kleptocrats live on planet Earth. And the registered owner also has Yao Mingshan, which is Wang's wife, is on the title. And Sun Yao, I guess her English name is Anita. So the one has a disability that was basically a father and produced by the grandfather and the daughter. Okay, incest which is also adopted daughter of Wang and Yao Mingshan, are on the title, on the deeds title. And then the next, move on to the next picture, are the address, the unit is 18854. And this real estate is a little bit cheaper, but still 1.4 million at that time. And today, before the show, I went on the Zillow, and I find these houses are way more than what the price showed you on the screenshots. The one on the left, probably above, I remember it says 4 million something. Maybe close to 4.5 million, and the address on the right is like above 3 million. They all pretty much more than doubled since the 2017 Miles Guo's live stream in terms of value. But the owner, the registered title, it's all belong to the same person. It's all Shun Fengshan, Yao Mingshan, and Sun Yao. Okay, so it's all Wang's and Yao's family owns them. And besides that, Miles Guo shared that this is not just, they're not only owning this 16 house in Saratoga, there are 10 more houses in Washington, D.C. are in their names. Okay, so I mean, if you times a little bit in terms of value of the property, and I'm sure they probably have more. These are just the properties in the United States, maybe, because Miles didn't mention maybe there's way more in other parts of the United States and in other continents. I don't know, but this is what Miles shared in 2017. So let's turn to slide number 12. So July 5th, Miles in the same broadcast on YouTube, Miles asked those following questions. I think these are really good questions because as an ordinary people looking at those information, I have those questions. Those questions are, why does no one dare to ask Wang Qishan whether the houses are real or not? Because you know Wang Qishan is a leader of anti-corruption, right? But nobody dared to ask the question. You know, he has put 1.4 million CCP members in jail because accusing them of corruption and bribery, but he himself hiding so much overseas, but nobody dared to ask the question, right? So this is the elephant in the room. Question. So why does Yao Qing, okay, has so much money? So Yao Qing is a grandson. It's on the records of Yao Ming, one of the daughter's son. So basically, he is a legitimate grandson of Yao Yiling. So why does Yao Qing have so much money? Okay, so why does Yao Qing fly around in Boeing 787, Boeing 737, Boeing 319, and Gulfstream 550 every day? Okay, we will show you. We will come to that later on. And the flight, guess from where? From HNA. Okay, so this is all coming all together. And where did all this money come from? Good question. Where did all this money come from? What is the relationship between HNA and you? The you, I think Miles is meaning Wang Qishan. He was talking to Wang Qishan. And then in the live stream and like pretending he's talking to him. So what is the relationship between Yao Mingduan and Sun Yao and you? Okay, Yao Mingduan is the youngest sister, youngest daughter of Yao Yiling. Okay, so Miles is asking, what is the relation between you and the youngest daughter of Yao Yiling? Remember, Wang married the middle daughter of Yao Yiling, and Wang had an illegitimate son with the older daughter of Yao Yiling. But now Miles is asking, what's your relationship between you and the youngest daughter? Okay, I don't know. I don't know what does that mean. Why Miles is asking that question. There might be more story behind to it, but he hasn't shared with us, so we don't know. And then he's also mentioning about what's the relationship with Sun Yao and you. You means Wang Qishan. So Miles is assuming that Wang Qishan is watching his live broadcasting. That's why he's asking the question in the video. And I'm sure Wang is watching because Wang has retaliated things, right? And he tried everything. He sent his PAG crew and he sent Shan Weijian, those CCP spy and white gloves, to hunt Miles and wanted to silence him. And so, but anyway, how did the money of Great Wall Assets Management Co. and China Construction Investment Corp. So remember the CIC that established in 2007? And using the foreign exchange reserve money, we're talking about billions and billions and billions of money, okay, that Wang Qishan, be able to use to generate profits for himself, for his family. So how did those money of these two great companies, a state-owned company, all arrived at your home? So how much money does Wang family owns? We don't know. It feels like a deep pocket. It feels like, vast ocean of money. But anyway, let's keep on going. So back again to the architecture art project, aka CCP Rules by Janido. So really, a lot of people thinking, I'm not worried about it because you're Chinese, all the things you're talking about basically is just in China. You deal with it. Chinese people needs to deal with it. But no, this is why truly Miles is wanted to alert the world about the damage about the CCP kleptocrats did and about to do more of to the rest of the world. Because as I mentioned, in early 2000, those CCP kleptocrats gone global. Okay, their reach is far beyond your imagination. And the architecture art project started as a treasure map. They created through lab test babies and surrogates and whatever means, or their mistress or whatever's. They created a lot of those red offsprings carrying their genes, and they try to use them as a shell to hide their wealth all over the world. Okay, not just in China. A lot of the whistleblower shows previously or currently still having it, like a Fei Fei's show. She and her co-hosts has spent lots of time talking about those white gloves and holding mountain, like a mountain full size of wealth. But these are all white gloves. They are looking after those illegitimate sons and daughters. They appear to holding those wealth, but really the wealth is not belong to them. The wealth is belong to who they actually looking after. And these are CCP kleptocrats' illegitimate sons and sons overseas. Okay, so I'm gonna play a video for you, and this is, I want you to see the HNA 787 aircraft, what they look like, and you will see a man is a narrator, and that voice coming from Miles Guo himself. So KK, if you can, please play that video for the audience. Thank you.
什么样的喷涂？大家看一看，那是一个经过王岐山和姚明山、姚明端、孙凤山、姚庆、孙瑶共同认证之后的一个外喷涂。那个飞机787的外喷涂是个性化喷涂。那么这架飞机的设计，其中很重要的功能，里面有专门给姚明山女士抽烟的地方。 专门对排烟的特别系统，因为姚明山抽烟比王岐山还厉害。那么同时又给了姚庆的专门的卧室，有姚明山和王岐山睡觉的卧室，有姚庆睡觉的卧室和他之间都有层次分的，然后有给王健和陈峰他们的卧室，他们是往后边摆的，这个员工级别的。那么同时又给王岐山、姚明山专门设计的洗手间。 然后又给专门姚明山、王岐山喜欢抽烟的同时，这个躺卧的那个专用沙发，还有大电视。更重要的事情，连被子、连床褥、连餐具都是姚明山同志选的。那么从这些飞机的个性化设计，到平面布局，到功能，都是为王岐山和姚明山、姚庆打造的。最重要的是，700次飞行的所有这些飞机。 已经直接成本和这个全部成本26亿，我都给你算了。我这是全球爆料上给你准备开始做的啊，未来都有更加鲜活的场面给你出来。26亿的成本全是跟你姚家和王岐山家的。这个在这个中央电视台共同关注说，飞行了100多次啊，150个人，大家可以看到啊，这个所有这个飞机记录当中，这边是机主。 这面是乘客身份，然后飞行目的地。这一架飞机从头到尾就是你姚家用，没任何人用，功能是你的，你只有你飞，而且从定制到飞行到外面喷涂到功能全是你的。
Hello, thank you, KK, for playing that video. So, so this is the 787. Airplane basically purchased by HNA. But in that video, Miles told us it really not belonged to HNA because from the design, including exterior painting, all the way to the interior design, to the details, down to the little details in terms of what color, bed sheets, and everything, and in terms of bathroom functionality about smoking, and the type of reclining chair, everything basically is designed, and some of those components are hand-picked by Yao Mingshan, Wang Qishan's wife, and also exclusively used because this airplane, since the purchase, and they had a records of 700 flights. Okay, 700 flights, and all of them. Miles actually in the show showed the time and who ride on the plane, and you can see the 700 times they all ride by Yao's and Wang's family and their white gloves. Wang Jie, Chen Feng, or Chen Feng's son, the insiders. Okay, so and the cost of itself. Miles mentioned about 2.6 billion for those 700 flights, because to fly 1 hour in that plane costs you probably 1 year's salary for a Canadians, like $76,000. I don't think 76 is average salary, annual salary for a Canadian, and maybe a little bit higher than average salary here, but for 1 hour flying, just a flying cost, not mentioning about anything else, it's 76,000 US dollars. It's not Canadian dollars, so it's obviously way more than average annual income here. But that the cost is bared by HNA. Okay, not Yao's family, but the only person can use it is Yao's family. Okay, and those insiders who's doing money laundering, all those things for them on their behalf. So you can tell this plane is basically Wang's and Yao's, right? So, and Yao Qing, the son, and they fly 700 times. Where did they fly to? What are they doing? Who they're meeting? Like, aren't you interesting to know? So this is kind of so by sharing that information, Miles opened a door for people to peek in how Wang and Yao's family, and Wang Qishan particularly, using HNA. What are they doing? Because why do they want to invest in airline? Because, if you're literally thinking about airline, there's a lot of beneficiaries owning airlines because they can basically transfer a lot of goods and people privately without people knowing it, right? And they can put anything on the plane, literally, and fly to anywhere else, on global. That's scary though. But anyway, let's go back to the slide number 13. This is why I think Wang is really the best of the best among all of the kleptocrats, because he is smart. Remember that he started working in banking and financial industry very early on in 1980s. Okay, so he was first, working with World Bank, channeling those soft loans from World Bank into China. And then he became the construction bank, and then he created the CICC, the International Investment Capital Corp, and that's in 1995. And then later on CIC in 2007, and then later on One Belt One Road, another banking created in 2014. I think it was Guotou National Investment Bank or something, basically for the One Belt One Road. So you can tell, like, he is quite calculative and he's very smart because he knows how, and he knows important people because he has created those relationships with the West, things early 1980s and 90s. And he's keeping those relationships. That is why in 2019, Ray Dalio wrote a book called Principle, and basically describing Wang as God. Okay, so you can watch all previous episodes. But anyway, I'm not done yet on the architectural art project because we only showed you Wang's family, and there's a lot more to it we don't know because we only see a number of houses, and we only see a luxury 787, flight jets that design and to the likings of Wang and Wang's wife, and then we also know they use it personally, and only Yao Qing flight 700 times since they bought this 787 and doing, I don't know, dirty deals with the global tycoons and with global rich person. But we don't know, because nobody will tell you this like Miles did. Nobody. You will hear this, no one. Because we belong to different class. We are working class. We're deplorables. We make a living on paycheck to paycheck. And we worry about retirement savings. We worry about, our real kids, biological kids, where to study, how they do at school. We worry about those things. But what on the top the people are doing, we have no idea. We just believe what they tell me, what the main news media used to tell us. So we believe that. But until Miles Guo came along, he tells you how the world really works. And who are those liars and deceptions and corruptions? It's kind of ironic. The leader of the anti-corruption is basically the biggest crime and of corruption himself, and his whole family, his whole dynasty involved in bribery and corruption and deception. So, but he's not alone. Let's see more of those. And this is where I truly want to alarm the Western world, because CCP kleptocrats is really, really, really damaging the world without you notice. And the next slide, let's go to slide number 14. We continue our topic about red jeans, and this is a part of the architectural art project. There's the two people here you see on the screen. And I'm not sure you're familiar with Lufax or not, but Lufax is a huge company because they finished their IPO in United States, I think, if I could be wrong, 2020 or 2019. I'm not sure exactly year, but they basically attracting the investors in the West, and they raised, I think it was 2.4, close to 2.4 billion in that year. Okay, for IPO. And these two gentlemen, one on the left, his Chinese name is Zhao Rongshi, but he is a Korean. He was born in Korean. He got elite education in the United States, got his MBA, and then he just boom, become the CEO and chairman for banking in Thailand and Korean, according to what's appeared on the Baidu, which is the search engine equivalent to Google just within the communist China. So, but in 2022, early this year, he was appointed as the chairman and the board, a chairman of the board and the CEO, the chief operating officer for Lufax Holding Co. Okay. Later on, I will give you a little bit of information about the who is the Lufax Holding Co. a little bit more. Right here I have it. So it's a fintech giant. Lufax Holding is raising about 2.36 billion in its initial public offering, the largest share sale by a Chinese company making its debut on the New York Stock Exchange, thanks e-commerce giant Alibaba in 2014. Okay, here you go. And it's a retail, he's really is a financial business, kind of retail financial, technical business, kind of loan, handing out small loans to Chinese. So that's basically their major business. And they also have a little bit investment, but the investment, the revenue is really, really small. Major part is the revenue stream is from the retail, financial retail business. And their revenue is about 300 million a year. Okay, their revenues. Okay, so it's a huge it's a huge company. So and then the gentleman on the right, his Chinese name is called Ji Kuishen, but of course he is not Chinese. He also has a I forgot which country. Maybe the UK. I can't remember exactly. My memory doesn't serve me well with so many people's name and relationships. So, but anyway, he has another English name called Gregory Dean Gibb. Okay, so according to the Chinese version, the Communist Party's version, he came to China for the very first time in 1987. Okay, so, but we all know, the Chinese government information is not reliable. But although Miles didn't share who their parents are, who their these are all illegitimate sons. But Miles, in one of the live streaming show, I think it was in 2021, September 5th, because that day he whistleblowed a lot of information on Lufax Holding. If you wanted to search that video, you can definitely see it on YouTube. But when he mentioned about these two, he said these two are actually quite similar as Guan Jun and Liu Chenjie. Remember these people's name, Guan Jun and Liu Chenjie? These are illegitimate sons of Wang Qishan. So when he described these two, he said they are at the same level as Guan Jun and Liu Chenjie. So that's why the fellow fighters, followers, the followers of the whistleblower movement, believe that Miles is implied that they are also illegitimate sons of some very powerful CCP kleptocrats. Okay. And Zhao Rongshi, the gentleman on the left, he speaks fluent Korean, and his Chinese is really not good. Okay, and you can tell like he's a foreigner when he speaks Chinese because he's Korean is like a mother tongue, and the other guy, of course, English, right? So both of them, before they appointed as one of the chairman of the board and CEO, and the other one is a director of the board and then co-CEO for the Lufax, they both worked at Ping An. Okay, so Zhao Rongshi was the CEO and chairman of Ping An Puhui, an investment wing of the Ping An Group. And then the Ji Kuishen worked as the chief innovation officer for Ping An Group. Okay, Ping An used to be state-owned company. But remember, I said a smart question to ask is who owns Ping An? In CCP's controlled China, those huge enterprises, especially 100 Fortune, they made it to the 100 Fortune Global 500 list. These are all owned by the CCP kleptocrats and their regimes. So you have to ask the right question. Every time we mention a corporation, you will ask, oh, who basically is owning that? So Ping An is a complicated story. I think this company is so big and so vast, and they owned by a number of CCP kleptocrats family. Okay, they negotiated. They all want a piece of cake. But anyway, none of them has to do anything with the deplorables. Okay, these are just the CCP kleptocrats game. That's why you see super rich Chinese, very 20-some young guy purchasing billions or millions real estate or something. And these are all regimes. Or these are the daughters of the sons of those white gloves. Okay, so anyway, next slides. Page 15. September 5th, 2021. Yes, that's the live stream that I was mentioning. So this live stream is particularly important because it sends a lot of information alert to the Western world. Because a lot of people thinking, 10 years ago or even 15 years ago, they thinking China is an emerging market. You have to buy into China market. Otherwise you lose the whole thing. Maybe that time was true. You can make money and, taking some quick monies and leave, then you'll be able to keep the wealth you earned at that time. But if you stayed, you are not seeing any returns. Basically, this is a warning that Miles has been shared with us is because the CCP has playing the biggest Ponzi scheme in the world for quite a while. So every report, numbers, everything was basically fake. Okay, but in that live streaming, Miles shared there's 339 institutions hold about 284 million shares of Lufax Holding. Okay, and who are those institutions? These are particularly important. When you parked your money in a Ponzi scheme, you don't expect it to get them back, do you? Okay, so this is where this is truly alarm for a lot of deplorables. Because why? These are institutional holdings. So where did their money come from? So let's start looking at the pension plan, which is the right. These are the screenshots from the live broadcasting from Miles. So at the one on the right at the bottom, it says pension plan. So what are the pension plan that invested or purchased the shares of Lufax? And they are Canadian Pension Plan Investment Board made a decision to purchase. Teachers Retirement System of Texas. State of New Jersey Common Pension Fund. New York State Common Retirement Fund, California Public Employee Retirement System, Ontario Teachers Pension Plan Board. Okay, so these are pension plans holding deplorables money. And your money may be still in those CCP's Ponzi scheme who are controlled by the CCP kleptocrats, okay, behind the scene. And then let's take a look, what are the funds that buy into it? These are just almighty powerful funds. I mean, I'm not working in Wall Street, but if you are, you would know the weight of those companies that Lufax has been able to attract. So these are Capital Work Growth and Income Fund, Euro Pacific Growth Fund, and Crane Share, CSI, China Internet EFT, New Global Fund, Global X Fed, Global X FinTech, Bailey's Guilford Emerging Markets Equity Fund, Exchanging Traded Concepts, blah, blah, and then Barron Emerging Market Funds, Vanguard International Stock, International Stock, blah, blah. Oh, it's a number of Vanguards. And then if you look at, it says the institutions that holds the most of the Lufax holding, besides the CCP themselves. Okay, this is besides the CCP kleptos entities. These are the foreign institutions that holding the Lufax share is Capital Research Global Investors, Capital World Investors, and Bailey Guilford and Company, Vanguard Group, Farallon Capital Management, BlackRock Inc., KAAS Capital Management, Crane Funds Advisors, Alliance Bernstein, and State Street Corporation. Okay, so these are almighty powerful funds. And you know, a lot of us using words called, I think Western people using swamp, right? You say drain the swamp, and who are the swamp? I see a number of swamps here. You know, Vanguard, BlackRock, and Street Corporation. They owning basically pretty much majority of the world. And you can tell the CCP has already among those tables of the swamps, and they're hidden, and they have so much wealth that has been stolen from the 1.4 billion slaves in the last 30, 40 years. Okay, so this is scary because they truly attracting the investment from the West. And what by doing that, they basically bind the Westerners on the same Ponzi scheme. So just like, you know, a person has a cancer, you know, your cell has gone bad, you have a cancerous cell in your body, you know, and the doctor tell you, you know, if you're going to live with cancer, you only have two choices. Either you're going to amputate your two legs or to keep the rest of your body alive, or you're going to die. So communism here is the cancerous cell, and they wanted your legs. That's why they growed in both of your legs. And they even wanted to try your limbs and your brains. Okay, by then it will be too late to amputate it. That right now, I know decoupling is something talked so much about US, European countries and with China. But why they're so difficult to decouple? Because there's interests intertwined. And this is why the CCP has long planned to take over the world through those slowly, gradually, you know, infiltration to the West. They wanted to marry with you. They're sending their red genes to the Western country. They want to marry their kids and daughters to foreigners, so their offsprings have a hybrid. You know, you have parts of your blood in me, parts of me blood, and they want your money, or you know, bonded onto the same you know, high-speed trains that heading to the cliff. So when you need to make a decision whether you're going to decouple with China or not, you're going to have pain. You're going to give up maybe your two legs, one arms, whatever. You're going to amputate that to save the democracy. Otherwise, you're going to be taken over by the Chinese Communist Red. And that's the reality. And that is why it's so difficult. And Miles has been trying to waking up the people in 2017. He told the world that the dark is coming. The darkness is coming, and the CCP are the culprit. But nobody listened. I truly believe the world will be a much different place if at that time anybody paid attention. So now we have pandemic. You know, how many Millions of people already lost their lives, and we have vaccines again. How many more will suffer and die because of that? I don't know. It's truly a dark time, that in a dark age. So anyway, let's go to slide number 16, and I'm trying to wrapping it up because we're almost done. And this is a slide that CCP kleptocrats on the top. At the bottom, remember last show we showed you the CCP kleptocrats on the top. At the bottom, there are white gloves. There are tons of them. There are still people waiting to get onto the train to become a white gloves for those CCP kleptocrats. That's the only way they can get ahead in the society and become super rich and successful. That's how they define successful in a country that has no religion, that has no spiritual needs, but the communist indoctrination. So here, the same thing. They're having red offsprings. Some of them are born from a sexual relationship or intercourse, maybe one night stand mistress or whatever, or raping some young girls. That could possibly be, but majority of them are done by test tubes, infertility treatment center. So they create those kids. There's no words to describe the evilness of the CCP kleptocrats, because these kids, I don't know, I can't imagine, because I'm not one of them. I don't know whether they struggled to find their own identity. Do they know who they are? Do they know what they do? If they're smart and successful, they had a good education, they get ahead, just like the one picture showed on the slides, Peng Xiao, the CEO of Group 42, he is one of the illegitimate sons of one of the Politburo Standing Committee right above him, Han Zhen. Han Zhen is his dad. And according to Miles, his favorite illegitimate son is Peng Xiao. And I understand why he's, Han Zhen, liked the son very much, because he's good looking and he's successful and he's smart. And if you look at what's G42 should be scared, because G42 is artificial intelligence and cloud computing company. And they're huge. They are basically infiltrated into the entire world. The headquarters is in Abu Dhabi, okay? And look at Lufax, the two guys that I just mentioned, okay? They're there, and 339 Wall Street invest in pension funds all over. Their money is bought in, and they are the shareholders of the Lufax. And then we have HNA, the three illegitimate sons from Yao's and Wang's family. Okay, they're holding a conglomerate that billions, that 180 billions of assets. Okay, so these are the three illegitimate sons, and they have 400 entities. Many of them are all over the world. Okay, they're truly global. Those CCP's kleptocrats are truly global. I need you to get that concept. They are no longer confined within China. Okay, and then Zhou Lo, a notoriously fugitive on the run right now, and he's hiding in China. And his dad is also Meng Jianzhu. Okay, although Meng Jianzhu is not standing on top of the balcony, but we know the 1MDB. I'm not sure whether you know or not, because if you don't, you can search it. It's notorious 1MDB. So 1MDB stands for One Malaysia Development Bohai Funds. So it is basically a sovereign wealthy fund, so holding billions of Malaysia people's deplorable savings. And this guy, Zhou Lo, was an unofficial advisor to the former president of Malaysia, Najib. And he stole billions of those deplorables money, okay, and had a shopping spree in Hollywood. Okay, so you can all finding all those information online yourself, but these are just a drop in a bucket, because Miles only shared with us these are the red, known there's known red genes of the CCP kleptocrats. But what about those that he didn't share? How many out there? How much money do they control? What do they look like? They're no longer Chinese. They speak English, they speak in German, they speak any other language. So how do you discern and defer who they are and where they are when they're so integrated with the world, thanks to the globalization? Okay, so this is a danger, because they are the true challenge and threats to democracy and freedom. So this is what Miles is trying to say. So let's look at the next slides. So remember this guy, slide 17, this Beehive guy, he was interviewed by Reuters in 2017, October, right? He was the guy that before he transferred the share to Guan Jun, which is the illegitimate son of Wang Qishan and Wang Qishan's wife, sister, okay? He accepted the interview. He was holding the HNA's share. And then in 2016, he transferred at the request of the senior management from HNA to Guan Jun. So then Guan Jun became the shareholder. And then because the whistleblower, the pressure coming from Miles, so Guan Jun donated 18 million, the 29.5% share of HNA to the charity called Hainan Ziheng Charity. So that's a story we already covered in the previous 2 episodes. So in the same interview, this guy said this on this Reuters news. You can scan it, you can see it yourself. He said, the senior management of HNA are devoted Buddhists. He said, they always had the intent that life is transitional. Money is transitional. It should not go from generation to generation. I'm going to stop here. Okay, so this is what the CCP in essence, who they are. They are liars. They wanted to deceive you, and they tell you one thing and they do the opposite. Okay, so none of them believe, none of those kleptocrats standing on the balcony at the center of the power of the world want you to believe. They only want you to believe that life is transitional. They bend your religious freedom. They do not allow you to believe there is a higher power, there is God. And they want you to only believe the CCP doctrination. And they tell you money is transitional. That's why you can be happy without owning nothing, because you are a proletarian. Okay? And you should keep that. And money should not go from generations to generation. That's why they abolished private ownership. Your father worked hard. He bought land. After he died, it goes back to the country. It doesn't pass on to the younger generation. But what did they do themselves? And in this show, I've said so much about nothing more evil than the CCP, the system, and nothing more evil than the CCP, the top kleptocrats, this 100 families on the top, basically vacuum the wealth of the entire global, okay, including my money, your money, and everybody's money, and with the help of people in the West. And this is at war, okay? Really, it's the fight between the dark and the light. And Miles Guo has been below the whistle from the get-go and has been telling the truth. This is why he has been fought hard by the CCP kleptocrats. Okay, so this is why we're in this messy 5 years long legal case against Miles Guo, because we teared their masks. Okay, so the last slides, I'm going to end this show. So we have revealing the deceptions, the collusions, and the corruptions about the CCP, the system, and the CCP kleptocrats. So next week, we're going to talk about the death of Wang Jian, which is, again, a very difficult to accept. Okay, a person had to die because the secrets of the CCP kleptocrats, particularly Wang Qishan, Wang's family, and Yao's family, has to be sealed. Okay, so we will take a look at the details of Wang Jian's death, and you will know how evil the CCP is. That's why we said the CCP truly is the root cause of all disasters, and we need to take down the CCP. So thank you so much for watching this episode, and I hope to see you next week. And next week, still, I'm thinking about the time will be Tuesday, so we're going to go still regularly and Tuesday afternoon at 1 p.m. EST time. So thank you very much, KK, for your help, and I will see you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
的武器，我们的胜利。谢谢了，兄弟姐妹们，你们健身了吗？行动，行动，行动！中共，你完了 ！Take down the CCP！
just beginning for the games you want to play. And just watch and see, it's all started, everything's begun, and you are over, 'cause we're taking down the CCP. Spread the word all through Hong Kong, we will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more, let's take down the CCP. They have all lied for too long, we will end what they do wrong. Spread the word all through Hong Kong, let's take down the CCP. Let the bullets fly a little longer, and you will surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer, we will have freedom to live, we will win, you'll surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer, let the bullets fly a little longer.
中共，
Let the bullets fly a little
你
longer.
完了！
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
中共，你完了！干灭中国共产党这个 CCP， 还能让我们远离恐惧。Take down CCP。
They try to scare the nation with fabrication, but we see through the lies, we won't fall, we will fight you back. Police corruption with crooked assumption, they ran our lives, but no more, we will win, we will take down the CCP. Spread the word all through Hong Kong, we will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more, let's take down the CCP. They have all lied for too long, we will end what they do wrong. Spread the word all through Hong Kong, let's take down the CCP. Let the bullets fly a little longer, and you will surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer, we will have freedom to live, we will win, you'll surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer, let the bullets fly a little longer.
站起来吧，
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
站起来吧，
Let the bullets fly a little
为
longer.
奴役的人们
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
行动！
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
行动！
Let the bullets fly a little
你
longer.
完了！
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down CCP。
Bullets fly a little longer, and you will surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer, we will have freedom to live, we will win, you'll surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer,
Take down
let the bullets fly a little
CCP。
longer,
Take down
let the bullets fly a little
CCP。
longer,
Take down
let the bullets fly a little
CCP。
longer,
Take down
let the bullets fly a little
CCP。
longer,
Take down
let the bullets fly a little
CCP。
longer,
Take down
let the bullets fly a little
CCP。
longer,
Take down
let the bullets fly a little
CCP。
longer,
Take down
let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down the evil CCP.